What if you could sell 68 million euros of cars all in one night? Actually, it was 81 million euros, but we'll come to that little delta in a minute. This is the RM Sotheby's Paris review. Let's see what happened. We'll go through each individual lot. Lot 118 is the Series 1 Roadster project. This one was offered directly from Jaguar Classic. In our preview of this auction ahead of it, we said at 30 to 60,000 euros, it's going to need to be very, very efficient on the restoration to make the numbers add up. They agreed with us. 21,000 euros sold on that car. Lot 120 was the X-Pac Volante 331 against an estimate of 250 to 350. Pretty much on the money with that one. M3 Sport Evo Lot 121 sold for 207 between an estimate of 190 and 240,000. An interesting car here was Lot 122, this Ferrari FS of John Elkanns. Came to auction with an estimate of 220 to 320. This car had sold previously. This car had sold last year with collecting cars, and it's offered 207,000 euros. Amazingly, this car was sold for almost 400,000 euros in total. TBC, what conclusion you want to draw with that? Is that the strength of the market in 2026 being very different so far to prior years? Or is that a live versus online effect? Let us know down in the comments below. Lot 124 was this SL Pagoda 280, did really, really good money. Top 10% price on this between 120 and 140 was the estimate. Sold at just over 200,000 euros on that. Working down, we've got a couple of low mileage Mercedes. Lot 125 was an SLS AMG Roadster, 3,700 miles on the clock. Sold for 200,000 euros, bang in the middle of its estimate. Similar story on this Lot 126, the coupe version. Again, 3,700 miles and sold for just over its top estimate here, a top 10% price. Lot 127 was the SLR McLaren Roadster, estimated at 330 to 430, sold for 387 in the end here. Good, strong money on that. These two cars were interesting. Lot 128 and Lot 129 were 300 SLs, one Roadster and one Gullwing. The fact you could have bought a Gullwing for less money than the Roadster here is rather remarkable. Roadster sold for 1,355 and a Gullwing about 30,000 euros less than that, at 1.32 million on that. I know which one I'd have had every single time. Lot 130, another SLR McLaren, estimated at 260 to 320 on this, sold at 314. Lot 131 was an interesting one. Again, SLR McLaren Sterling Moss edition here. One of 75 cars that were built, estimated at 2.75 to 3.25. Most of the recent sales we've seen have been around sort of 3.4 to £3 million mark. This came pretty much in the middle of those. Really, that market is, if you're asking anywhere outside of 3 to 3.4 million on those, you are dreaming. The market's solidifying nicely around there. This Lancia Beta Coupe Group 4, again, another interesting lot. Estimated 80 to 120. We've seen this car sell with RM back in 2024. This car sold for 80,000 euros. 2 years on, that value is now down at 50,000 euros. Is that a softening market for 60s and 70s cars? Were the right people just not in the room on the day? Again, let us know your take on the comments down below. World record on Lot 133. This 360 Challenge came with an estimate of 80 to 120. It sold at a new world record price of 132,000 euros on that. Lot 134, there was another world record. Pantera Group 4 here, estimated at 300 to 350. Sold quite a way under low estimate here, 224,000. Despite that, it was still a world record. As I mentioned, we've never seen one of these sell before. A car I really, really liked pre-sale was this Lot 135 3500 GT Spider by Vignale. Sold bang in the middle of its estimate, near enough. 280 to 380 on that. Sold at 320, just below average price. The F310B, tricky car to price within here. Didn't sell at 5.5 to 7.5 million euros. Given the way F1 cars are appreciating at present, if I was the vendor, I wouldn't be too worried about selling that anytime soon. You could hold that nicely, and that is probably going to appreciate in value going forward. Lot 137, this 930 Turbo Cab, really strong money on this despite the strong estimate. To start with, 200 to 300 RM were after. They got 204, top 10% price. on this. Lot 138 was the McLaren MP4 17A. Coulthard and Raikkonen history on this car. It did need a lot of work to get it back up and into working condition. 1 to 1.4 million was the estimate. Fell short, but still sold at €905,000. Keep on rolling. Lot 139 was a very punchily estimated 996 GT3 Cup. 150 to 250 was the estimate on this. World record for these is €171,000. Unsurprisingly, it went unsold. Lot 140 was one of the headline cars of the sale, that short wheelbase Cali Spider. Again, interesting car. This estimate was softer than we have seen in recent years. 12 to 14 million euros on this car. If we come down and see recent sales, most of them have been between 15 and 16 odd million for one of these. It sold for 14 million euros. Covered headlight example, exactly what you want. Beautiful thing, but it does represent a slight softening, as we've seen across the Ferrari 250 range of values on these recently. Lot 141, Lot 142, two tailor-made Ferraris here. Both went unsold with the 812 GTS at 430 to 480. Same with the 4-inch Spider at 250 to 300,000 on those. SA Aperta, I thought this would make €1 million. It just fell short of this. Sold for 995 in the end. Lot 144, this 327 Sport Cab looked super cheap. Estimate, even pre-sale, looked very sensible at 90 to 140. We've seen examples sell for close to 200 of these sort of cars previously. €77,000 sold, including all fees. A very cheap car, probably going to get cheaper over time as well. Lot 145, this 962, the only one I believe that was road registered. 800 to 1 million euros was the estimate. Fell at 848. Bang on average price for one of these that we've seen. Lot 146 is 100 to 120,000 on the M3 CSL. Sold over the top of its estimate. 129,000 on that. Lot 147 and 148 we said would be tricky cars to go and shift. Lot 147 proved particularly true on that. Estimated at 150 to 180. We said it was a punchy estimate to start with. It was sold at 109. Lot 148, the 250 GTE Series 3. 200 to 250 did well versus estimate at €230,000, just below average price for one of those. Lot 149, this XK150, which can be converted from right-hand drive to left-hand drive, estimated at 130 to 160, sold at €94,000. Again, average price versus prior sales that we've seen for the model, estimate was strong to start with. Lot 150, this lovely Miura SV, estimated at 3.3 to 3.6. We said this would be worth every single penny of it, and it was sold, including fees, at 3.7 million euros. Top 10% price. The appreciation on those continues to head northwards. Lot 151, that Talbot Lager T26. Uber beautiful car. Great history on this. You'll be eligible all around the world, but sold below estimate. 800 to 1.2. on this, 708,000 euros, including fees. Lot 152 is this 250 GT Coupe by Boano. 650 to 750 was the estimate, and it sold for just above average price of 758,000 euros. The Hispano Suiza we've never seen come to market before. Very tricky thing to price. 175 to 250 was the estimate, ended up not sold. The cheapest car in the auction was this, the 1971 Volkswagen Beetle. When you've got cars that are worth hundreds of thousands, millions of euros, having a car that is uber low value is often a good choice from a vendor if you can get it into a sale like this. In relative terms, the price is very affordable, and this sold well over its top estimate of 16,000 euros, hammered including fees with 18.9 thousand euros for that. The Splitty 21 window, 60 to 80,000 on this. Bang on average price versus what we've seen before, 69,000 euros on that car. We really liked this XK120, 80 to 120,000. Good news for me. These continue to soften. Beautiful car, beautifully done. 71,000 euros for that vehicle. This 2600 Sprint, lot 157, again, soft on this. Estimate was 40 to 70,000. Punchy estimate to start with. Sold at 34,500. Again, right money for the right car. Estimate was too high to start with. This M45 pillarless saloon, 55 to 85 on this, sold for just 39,000 euros. You'll see in a minute some more pre-war cars that struggled as well. It's a bit of a theme across the auctions in Paris last week. Lot 159, this Chevy Stingray, 60 to 90 on this, sold for 62,000 euros. Bang on average price for this kind of car. Almost all the Bentleys here sold below estimate. The only one that didn't was this lot 160, estimated at 200 to 250, sold at 230,000. Still a bottom 30% price. Looking at our pricing analytics on this. This 8 litre sold below estimate at 381. This 3 litre sold below estimate at 138,000. And so did this 3 litre, sold for the lowest price we've seen in recent years at only 100,000 euros. Other cars that struggled was this lot 165 DB2/4 Mark III fixed head coupe, 160 to 210 on that. Punchy estimate, unsurprisingly, not sold. Lot 166 is another of the headline cars. Now, this had an interesting one. It didn't sell in the room. It reached a high bid of 12 million euros, excluding any fees. Hammer at 12 million. It passed. A deal was done after the auction for this car, now to be sold. I would expect it sold in the region of 13 million euros if you look at the prices that RM say they achieved in the auction at an overall level and what was advertised on the day as sold. It puts this car about 13 million euros. Very good value, in my humble opinion. Lot 167 is this 250 GT Coupe, 500 to 600,000 on this. Didn't find a home with that. 512 TR, bang on average price of 200,000 euros for one of those. We said in our preview the Celine S7 was looking cheap versus what examples sell for in the States. Buyers agreed. This was estimated at 425 to 475, sold at 567,000 euros. 996 GT3 RS, these continue to climb, broke it through its top estimate and sold including fees at 303,000 euros. It's one of the highest prices we've ever seen for one of those cars. Bugatti Bolide, it was the first time one of these was hammered at auction. Estimated at 4 to 6 million euros. It's hard to know really where to place these, given none have sold previously. It fell just short of 4 million euros, but it's a good benchmark for where values on these are at currently. Talking about where values on these are currently, lot 172, this 2.7 RS Touring, 425 to 625, sold for 353,000 euros. This is an icon of a car, however, I can only really expect these to depreciate further. 353 is a very cheap example, bottom 20% price on our numbers. In 5 years' time, I think that'll be good money for this car. 289 Cobra was lot 173, estimated at 750 to 950, fell short at 623,000. The Monospecchio, really good spec on this, but higher estimate and asking price, didn't sell at an estimate of 280 to 320,000 euros. 25th anniversary Countach, lot 175, estimated at 500 to 700, sold at 567. In our preview, we didn't like the Club Sport whatsoever. 350 to 450 didn't find a home. Also not finding a home was the Series 1 Roadster. Again, strong money on the estimate here to start with, 150 to 200. And talking of other pre-war cars that didn't sell, particularly Alphas here, the 8C 2300, 2 to 2.5 million euros unsold. The 6C 1750, estimated at 1.4 to 1.8, also not sold. As I mentioned, there were a number of other pre-war Alphas that all struggled across the auctions as well. This car was cheap. Lot 180, the Mercedes-Benz 300S, estimated at 270 to 300. It sold including fees of 184,000 euros. That car had a beautiful patina interior and a really nice exterior on it as well, but didn't quite find the demand that they were looking for. Sold nonetheless. Lot 181 is this 356C Carrera. Did really well versus estimate, 500 to 700,000. This came to the sale at, sold just over the top of that at 702,000 euros. Despite that, though, it was still the lowest price we've seen for this car in recent years. 275 GTB, surprising here to see this go unsold at 2.175 million euros on the low estimate. Didn't find a home. This Rough also didn't find a home at 150 to 180. Another Carrera, which sold here, 356B, this time 350 to 450,000. This sold bang on the middle of prices that we've seen recently when it hammered, including fees, of 376,000. Another V8 Volante, not like the X-Pack we saw earlier in this sale, 150 to 200,000, and sold for just about average price of 132 on this. The 930 flat nose didn't find a home with an estimate of 160,000. Citroen SM lot 187 was an interesting lot, estimated at 90 to 140, which is toppy for an SM, but this car had been heavily restored. Previously, it sold for just 54,000 euros. Weak versus estimate, strong versus recent sales that we've seen for the model. This Murcielago GT1, 650 to 800,000 on this, sold for 691,000. It's the first of those we've seen sell. Lot 189, correction on this, was a Wild Speed Record Edition specification car, but it originally wasn't that from factory. 190 to 240,000 on this, sold pretty much at 190,000 euros, a bottom 30% price for this car. The 550 GTC, 2.2 to 2.6 they were after, sold just under 2 million euros. The Dino didn't find a new home. Three cars that did very happily find a new home were the 288 GTO lot 192, estimated at 4.5 to 5.5 million euros, sold for 5.85 million euros. Now, this car had 24,000 kilometers on the clock. I just want to show you the price trend of this car, or this model, over time. You look at what's happened in 2026. What did we have? We had the Buckman Collection 288 GTO sell, 2,000 kilometers on that car from memory. We then had the RM car come along at 24,000 kilometers, sold for incredibly strong money at just shy of 6 million euros. And then after that, Gooding sold a 1,500 kilometer car at 9 million euros. Prices have gone absolutely ballistic on these. Enzo is following a similar trajectory. This was estimated at 3.8 to 4.2 million euros. What did it sell for? 8.1 in total. 286 kilometers on this car. And again, you look at the sales in 2026. Yes, they are incredibly low mileage examples, but they are so much above anything we've seen previously from these cars. Continuing that trend, this F50, 5.5 to 6.5, sold for over 7.5 million euros. Again, low mileage, 1,600 kilometer car, but you look at the price trend on these, particularly in 2026, and they are heading north very, very rapidly. That whole Big Five era of Ferraris is looking very, very strong. Is it a bubble? Time will tell, but so far those prices are holding for low mileage examples. Lot 195 is 488 GTE, sold for 2.8 million euros. Another ref sold for 438,000, just over the top of its estimate, and closing out the sale was the Ferrari 400i manual, 80 to 120 on this, and sold for just under 90,000 euros. So there we have it. RM sale, 77 lots within here. Officially, 81 million euros of cars sold, including that 250 TDF that was sold after the sale. So of the 77 cars that were offered, they sold about 79% of those cars. Typically, for the past year or so, we've seen sell-through rates around mid to low 70s. So a good, another indicator for 2026 that the market is starting to firm up. Hope you enjoyed. Then I'll record another one on the rest of the Paris auctions right now. Peace.